Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to another session. In this session, we are going to take our product to the next level. That, as you know, last session we have created one DB context file user class in order to create the user table. Then we have created a database by using the code first approach of the entity framework, and then we have created migration as well as we have updated the database. So there are two commands which I explained you last time, that add the migration and then update the database. So by using the add migration, it will just generate one migration file so that you can anytime roll back your changes. And this migration file will basically contains what are all changes you are going to do with your database. And then there will be another command, that is update database. So that is basically applying these changes to your database. So that way, uh, whatever changes you will make into the C# will be sync with the database schema. So that command is for that purpose. And here now we are going to create the next table, that is our this one login details table. So this login details table we require because we wanted to develop our application from top down approach. So first page is login page, right? So our clients should client applications like web application, Android application and iOS application need to login into our system. So in order to login into our system, we first of all require one table which we already discussed in the third session, that is uh, where is the table? This one, login details, right? This is our first table. So in this table, we will have ID, username, password, and is blocked flag. So these many columns we require into this table. Once we create this table, then we will create one more API, login API, which will help you to verify your provided credentials against your database. If those are present into your database, it means uh, present into your database, then we'll have to validate what your username and password you have sent, whether it is correct or not. If it is correct, then we will return login equal to true, success true, otherwise false. False means invalid username and password. So like that. So this API we have to create with your application. Now let's go one by one. Okay. So first thing is, in order to create the database, go to your entities folder, right click, add new class. Okay. In this, you can provide the class name like login details. Okay. Then this class should be public. As you know, public is one of the access specifier which will allows you to use this class outside of the current project. So current project is DAO. I wanted to use that in the API project. So that's why it is public. Now I'll need to create some columns into this table. So first column obviously is the ID column. ID means your primary key with the auto incremental value for the number data type. Next table is our this one, user ID, username, password, and is blocked. Okay, so we already have the user table generated. From that, we will have the user ID as a foreign key. Okay, by using the entity framework, how we can generate the foreign key relationship with our database, I will also explain you that in this session only. Okay, yeah, so we got that. Then username is nothing but uh, the unique username for everyone. Okay, so it cannot be duplicate, and it can be email as well, no problem in that. Okay, this should not be null. Okay, so that's why this warning. Next one is password. Password we should keep in an encrypted format. Okay, but for time being, for first release of our application, let's keep password as it is. It will be readable format for the developer. Next one is blocked. Is blocked means if this flag is true, then we should not allow anyone to log in into our system. Okay, so these are the table structure. Sorry, this is the table structure for login details table. These are the columns available. Now I was saying how we can implement the foreign key relationship, right? So we can implement the foreign key relationship like this. So I wanted to do the foreign key for user table. Okay, so I will just mention user class property like this. So user should be this login is details are associated with this user. So for that, I will add one data annotation, that is foreign key. And here you can mention the column name. What is the column name? User ID. So this user ID is a foreign key of user table. So if you go to the user table, there is a ID column. So this ID is a primary key into the user table, and this ID, that ID is foreign key into the login table, like that. Okay. And if you press control button, click on the class name, you will jump into the definition of that class. So this is also another way to shortcut way to go inside any task, any class. Okay, so this is foreign key annotation will help you to create the foreign key between multiple tables. Now let's do one thing. Username should be empty, nullable, password is nullable, and user can be also nullable. So it will remove all the warnings. Okay, and also these many usings are not required. If you see, this is black one, bold one. So bold is we are using here. Okay, whatever this foreign key class is coming from this using, that's why it is in bold color. And you can see these are the faint color, gray color. So these are not yet used in our current class. So that's why you can just remove them to keep your class clean and neat. Okay. Now you can see user class is there, login details class is there. Now we have two tables, but we need to include this table into our database. So this is the file which is representing the database schema to us. So in this file, obviously we need to, what we need to do, we need to add one more DB set for the login details column, login details. Okay, now you can see we have user table, we have login details table, and also we have created the definition of the login details table here. Now I wanted to create this table into the database. As of now, if I go to the SQL Server Management Studio, right click on the refresh, and if I go to the tables, here we do not have a login details tables as of now. Why it is not available? Because we haven't applied our changes to the database so far. So we can do that by using two commands. Don't forget those two commands. One is, number one command is add migration. So add migration, we can give the proper naming convention like added login details table. Okay. And if you click on enter, it will just generate this migration file into the migrations folder. Okay. First of all, it will build the project. Once it found no errors, then it will generate that migration file into the migration table, sorry, folder. And you can read the code available, auto-generated code inside that migration file. If you are feeling comfortable, confident that, okay, whatever code our .NET has generated for us is correct. So we can apply those. So every migration file will have two things, up and down. Up means when we apply this migration, it will, okay, it will rename the table to user. Okay, drop primary key to table user and add primary key to user to ID. Okay, and then down is create user. Okay, there is no login details table available. Why? Let me check if I'm missing anything. So if I go to the login details, okay, and go here in the DB context file. Okay, what happened is we have only added the name here, but we forgot to replace login details class in the DP set. So that's the problem. Okay, so that's why this file was wrongly generated. So I'm just right click, delete. Okay, I don't want that file because it was invalid file, whatever. So that's the thing. If you generate the migration before applying those changes to your database, verify your changes twice, because once it generate the database, it might be a data loss. Whatever data you are having in the database, it might be get lost. So do not forget to take the backup, check the migration file 2 times. Once you feel comfortable, confident, okay, whatever he has generated, which is correct, then only apply your changes to the database. It is very crucial step, because database is more important than application, right? Because it has our customers data. So keep your eyes open, go to that file, see here what we are doing, pk user, then I add primary key, create table, login details. Okay. Okay. So this table is now going to create when we apply this migration file. Great. So let's apply these changes then. How to apply? In order to apply these changes, you will have to use update database command. If you hit enter, it will create this table into the database. Now let's wait for it. Okay, there is error. Cannot find the object user because it does not exist or do not have the permission. Okay. Okay, our changes not get applied. So go to the db context file, see what is there inside the user. User is available into talento track dot DAO dot entities, right? DAO dot entities user file is there. In the login details, what is there? Public. This is also public. Yes. Now drop primary key of pk user. Rename the table from user to user tbl user. Okay, and then add primary key pk tbl user to tbl user id column. Create index on user id. Okay. Let me check to which. Okay, this project. Alter table drop constant primary key user. Okay. So if you apply the update database, it will apply the last generated file only. So this is your file. Let me just give that name. Let's see in double quotation. Cannot find user because it does not exist or you do not have the permission. Okay. What is there inside this file? Drop primary key, rename primary key, add primary. Okay, let's remove this one. I don't want to do all these things. Drop, rename table, add primary key. Okay, with tbl user. Let's go here. This is your tbl user. This is your tbl login details. Remove these things. I just wanted to create a new table. That's it. Okay. Down. Drop table, drop primary key, rename table, add primary key. Okay. Anyways, we'll not going to down that. Let's try now. Okay, great. Now it should create one table here. Right click, refresh. Okay, you can see login details table is now available. Log tbl user is also available. So if I go inside the tbl user, so tbl user has one primary key that is id, and if I go inside the login details, it has one foreign key that is user id. You can see this is your foreign key, this is your primary key. If you go to the keys, here also you can see what kind of key foreign key is this. So this foreign key is belongs to user table, tbl login details, tbl user id. So this foreign key is belongs to users table, like that. Okay, now we have one login details table and user table. Great. Inside the login details, let's add one dummy user. Okay, I wanted to add one, let's say admin details. Okay, so we can right click, edit. Okay, it's taking some time. Let me close this meanwhile. Okay, now user ID I do not have because we need to create a user record first. So I will go to the user, edit 200. Okay, so first name is, let's say, admin, last name is admin, email is admin@gmail.com, then contact number, role is 1. Okay, 1 is for admin, created date is today 29/09/2023, updated date is today only, so that is 29/09/2023, created by ID null, updated by ID null. Okay, okay, it is not null actually, so let's create one. It is little slow. Okay, so this record has been added into the user table. Now I'm going to the login table here. What is the user ID? User ID is 2, right? So we can use that 2 as a foreign key here. Username is admin. Okay, and password is, let's say, 123, is locked, false, and enter. Now we have one default admin credentials into our database. So we can create the login API now. So let's create one login API. Yeah, that record will add into the database meanwhile. We'll just go ahead and create the API. Now, in order to create a new API, what are all things we require? What will be the design pattern? Okay, so we require one repository pattern. Okay, so that pattern we are going to follow. Now, I wanted to create login API. So let's collapse everything. You can see there are 4 projects we have created. This is API project, this is service project, DAO project, common project. Now, I'm going to create one controller. So let's take a copy of existing controller to avoid uh, additional efforts. Copy, paste. Okay. Now I'm going to delete this controller, existing controller. We do not require that. I'm going to delete this weather forecast additional thing. We do not require that, right? Now rename this controller as account controller. Account controller. Okay. Account means login related APIs, registration API, all these things we will add into the account controller. Let's open that. Once you open that, your controller name should be same as your class name. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing, remove this, we do not require. Okay, private read only. Here you can have the iLogger object. What is iLogger? iLogger is one of the library provided by Microsoft which will help you to log your error messages into the files or console. Okay, so we will use that, no problem. This is one constructor, right? Constructor means constructor will use to initialize the member variable of a class. So this class has this parameterized constructor. This parameterized constructor has a dependency of the logger class, which is coming as a parameter. Now we wanted to assign this parameter, initialize this logger with this parameter, which is what we have did here. Now here we are going to create one API. So API will be HTTP post, obviously. Why post? Because login API need to provide some parameters. So two parameters I will provide, that is username and password. And those parameters should not be passed over the URL. It should be passed as a background or request payload. That's why we are going to use it as a post API. Okay. And now the name of this API is login. Okay. So what our routes will
Which
be.
the following shows the correct addition.
Okay. Yeah. So what will be the URL for this login API? URL will be account/login. Okay. This is your route. Okay. Route has your controller name slash your action name. Okay. Action name. So controller/action means your URL will be your controller name is account, action name is login, and it is get. Okay. Let's create the action name as a login. Okay. And here as it is forced, we'll need to create one DTO object. What is DTO object? DTO means data transfer object. Data transfer object is one of the object which will help you to bind your JSON request payload into the API or C# model as a request parameters, and you can use those parameters in order to fetch the data or save the data to the database. So once you understand about this API, you can create any API, because this is not only login API, but also along with that, we are going to create the pattern or architecture of our project. Okay, repository pattern we need to use. So yeah, let's create the DTOs. So DTOs, I think I will create inside the common thing. Here I will write one folder. The folder name will be DTOs. DTOs. Okay. Inside that, I will create a new folder for every controller. So I have one login control, sorry, account control, right? So I will create one account folder. Inside that, I have one login API, right? So I will create, right click, add new class. So class is login request. Okay, login API request. So whenever I will make a request to the login API, I am going to send you two parameters. First parameter is username, right? And second parameter is password. So these two parameters we will have to send in order to verify your credentials. Now this login request, we'll need to keep it as a parameter to the login API. So login request means request like this. Okay. And these parameters are not available in the URL. It is available in the request payload. So that's why from body. Okay. So what is the use of from body? What is this? I will explain you everything. Don't worry about that. Okay. Now I wanted to return the response like success true. If success not true, then what is the error message? So we need one common response payload, base response. So I will create one base response here. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go with the login API first. We will normalize that later. There are solid principles: single responsibility, open close principle, Liskov substitution, interface segregation, dependency inversion. We need to follow that while working with the these kind of projects. This is product actually. So that's why we need to follow the solid principle to reuse and make your code common. Okay. Now in the DTO's account, I have one more class, that is login response. Okay. So I will make one class login response and click on the add. Okay. So login response will have some generic responses like public, bool, success. Means whatever parameters you have sent, whether those are correct. If those are correct, then success will be true. Okay. If those are not correct, then success will be false. And if it is false, then we need to have one more error payload. Let me do one thing. Class error. Okay, public class error, and here error means error message. Okay, okay, let's keep it simple. We'll enhance it later. Okay, step by step. So here, if it is not success, then we should have some error message as well. Why it is not success? Is there any issues with it like that? Okay, so this is your login response. Now in the login response, obviously we need to keep that login response class as a response type of your current API call. So login request and this response. Now let's work on the API. Okay, let's say let's assume simple logic. If your request dot username is equal to admin and request dot password is equal to 123. We're just going to do hard code here for just understanding purpose. Later we will make it the database uh, verified with the database. If it is like this, then where response is equal to new login response. Okay, okay, so this response dot success is equal to true. Otherwise else response dot success is equal to false and response dot error message is equal to invalid credentials. Okay, we have just hard coded it for now to get the understanding of the API. We will enhance it later by verifying these credentials from the database. Okay, now let's verify this API. Let's say I have just run this project and added one breakpoint here. Okay, now you will see this API is now available in the Swagger UI as well. This is our Swagger UI. You can see account controller is there. In that account, we are having account slash login API. Okay. Now, if I click on the try it out, provide a username that admin and password as 123 and click on the execute. Then in this request class DTO object, you will get the 123 and admin, which we pass from the UI. Okay. And if you go next, it will check whether add username as admin, password as 123. Yes, make success true and return that to response. So you will get the response here that is success true, error null. No error, success true. But if I mention admin, let's say admin 2 and password is 1234, obviously this is not correct. If I execute and then it will go inside the else block now. Else block we are having the success false and error message equal to invalid credential. So you will get the response like this. Success false invalid credentials. So this is how we can create the login API. Now in the next sessions we will learn how we can make it dynamic to verify these credentials with our database. I'm pausing now. Okay, let me stop the recording.